In traditional Maasai culture, the husband holds the rights to assets like land and livestock. And in case of his demise, his widow is prone to lose the property whenever there is any dispute within the family. Now, whilst Kenya's laws are considered quite progressive, widows still spend years in court in pursuit of justice. Emily Chebet tells us more.
Purko village in Karoni, Kajiado County. We meet Jane Parmoat in a gathering with several other women bound by a common identity. All are widows apart from their pastor, who is here to encourage them. The men present here are translators, since most of the widows cannot speak English or Swahili. Jane, who is the chair lady of this widow support group from this village, is the host of today's meeting. She tells us that in this community, women and especially widows do not have a right to own property, even that which she inherited from her late husband. Children of widows might lack school fees because their mother cannot sell her husband's property. And in a worst-case scenario, they undergo great stigma in society. For lack of a father figure in the homestead, a woman can be a role model. Jane's story is somewhat different. She stood her ground and with support from area chief managed to retain her husband's property. But it was not easy for her. She was branded rebellious, and looking back, she has no regret about her resolve.
Maasai ni mwanaume ana haki, lakini mjane hana sauti. Mfano mzuri, mimi nina ng'ombe, nina mali, lakini kijana yangu anaweza, kwa sababu ndio mwanaume, anaweza chukua mamlaka, aseme atauza ng'ombe kwa sababu hii ng'ombe ilikuwa ya baba yangu.
Jane has 7 children to take care of. Her firstborn daughter, who had joined Thika College, is home because of lack of school fees. She tells us that they formed a widow support group under the guidance of Reverend Joyce Momeita. They are 17 in number, and every week they make a contribution of 50 shillings and foodstuffs, which goes to a widow who is the host of the day. The money, they say, is meant to help the beneficiary meet various needs.
Ile hamsini yetu sisi wote wa mama 17 itamsaidia yule mama kupeleka yule mtoto shule, hata kama si kulipa karo, lakini itamsaidia kununua kalamu na kununua kitabu.
Reverend Joyce Momeita, through her organization, the Ultra-Late Support Group, has also shown them how to apply for bursaries for their children, while also supporting them with foodstuffs, as well as small loans and grants to aid them start businesses where possible. But she says it is not enough.
Kila sehemu Kajiado County nimejaribu niwezavyo kufikia wale vikundi ambayo wako chini kabisa, na nikawa na certificate zao. In case kuna mtu anataka kuwasaidia, ananiona, ninampeleka katika ile kikundi, anaenda kuwatembelea, anasikiza shida zao na wanasaidika.
Yeah, they are being intimidated in the community. You know, when we say intimidation, even the land issues will be there. The academic issues will be there.
Kajiado County is one of the counties experiencing drought conditions. Water and food for themselves and for their animals is scarce. They struggle to make a living even as they engage in whatever business opportunities available.
Ninashona ushanga, ninauza ushanga, ninauzia watu kuni, nategemea pia kazi ya kufulia watu nguo, ninaweka pesa ili watoto wangu waweze kusoma. Mara nyingi tunategemea soko ya Ijumaa, tunapika chai, tunabeba na thermos, tunaenda kwa masoko, tunazungusha ile chai.
Maureen Maya, an assistant chief from Iringoswani sub-location in Kajiado County, confirmed that most widows here have been denied their rights. She is also a widow, and despite having received a formal education, that was not enough to shield her from stigma and rejection.
If your husband died, and let's say you want to do succession, the custom and culture cannot allow you. It's your kid who can inherit their fathers, especially boys, because girls are not allowed to inherit.
When Maureen was promoted to the position of assistant chief, She tells us that men in this community would not sit and listen to her orders, but slowly this perception is changing. Her sentiments were echoed by John Sapur, a former chief who is currently serving as a pastor in Kajiado.
Wajane wanavinywa, samani ilikuwa inavinywa. Utapata sana ulisi kawaida kwa sababu ni msichana, wasichana wanaanza kuolewa ubaki peke yako. Na ikiwa imebaki peke yako basi ndugu zako, ndugu ya marehemu bwana yako watachukua hiyo mali.
We are trying our best to make that culture come to an end or to change it. Like I myself have inherited because I know my rights.
According to the Federation of Women Lawyers, last year, a total of 28 cases of widow succession were recorded out of a total number of 622 cases received in Kajiado County. This year, FIDA has so far handled 85 successful matters, which represent 7.2% of the 1,177 cases of widow inheritance they are handling. Sandra Oyombe, a senior counsel at FIDA Kenya, says culture has been the biggest impediment to the quest for an equal society for both men and women.
The Constitution recognizes certain rights within the Bill of Rights that put women in equal position or standing in society with men. Article 27 of the Constitution prohibits any form of discrimination, whether on the basis of race, sex, gender, or religion, or culture.
How can women like Jane be heard?
Their voice needs to be incorporated in policy formulation processes as well as societal behavior, so that we accommodate the concerns of women in every aspect of the society.
Jane and Maya are just examples of what being a widow in some cultures looks like. Another widow, a member of this group, has been in court for 18 years, awaiting resolution of a land tussle between her and a relative. For some of them, the Constitution is a misery. This is because they cannot read or write. Their children have dropped out of school due to poverty. They cling on to hope that culture will not stand in the way of their dreams. For Jane Barmwat, these are her tools. She depends on beadwork to feed her children and take them to school, something she says it has not been easy. They have come together as widows to help one another in times of trouble. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV, Nkaroni, Kajiado County.